up to the next play along. That's the theme of this play along. So do watch for a little bit more guidance on playing that short phrase. Now it's comprised of components that we've looked at before in the actual main course, and we had 3, 4 and 5. Ta, kidda, tom. So 3, 1, 3, tom. Ta, ta, kidda, tom. 3, 3, 1, 3, tom. Ta, di, ta, kidda, tom. 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So these were components that came up in our adding density to the different rhythmic units in the previous part of the course. So we'll put those together just as a phrase to practice, and this is our solo phrase that will be brought into the time cycle. Da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum da kita dum da da kita dum da di da kita dum. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our basic phrase that we're going to be bringing into the time cycle. You're going to have to spend a little bit of time with that. This is going to be a little bit more time consuming for yourselves, getting this phrase together if you've just started out with this course. So make sure you spend enough time with that phrase to be able to play it comfortably at the speed that you want to, with learning this overall structure that we're going to put together now. Now so far the rhythm that we've had is da dim na da da dim na dim na dim dim na da dim. So this is the basic groove. This is normally the first groove that percussion soloists will play in their solo. They might do 2 versions of that and 2 different themes and corvoys and resolutions, and then they'll go on to a different groove. So there's lots of different grooves that they can go on to. Very lyrical, grooves that you would hear on the mridangam, for example. Tum dim nam ta nam dim nam ta nam dim nam kita dum dim nam ta nam dim nam ta nam dim nam kita nam ta nam. This is really cool, sort of very common phrase that they'll go into at this point. We're going to go into something slightly more accessible, and this will be based on a very simple groove. 3, 4 and dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dum dum. So 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1. So this is a really cool, time level for people to play. It gives a lot of space for the solo phrases when they come in, because it's a very calm, rivers running very calmly with this groove. It's not an angular sort of pointed groove. It's a very calm groove, and then you can play it quite subtly and start to bring the solo phrases in. So again, they're going to be integrated into the composition at the end of the the fourth quarter, then the second and the fourth quarter, and then the ending. So our phrase is 3 beats long. 3 notes long. So we're going to have 5 or actually a bar of 4, and then start the bar again with a and then the solo phrase. So that would sound like this: 3, 4, and tum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim tum ta ta dim ta kita dum ta ta kita dum ta ta kita dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim dum ta ta dim ta kita dum ta kita dum ta ta kita dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim dum ta 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 kita dum ta kita dum ta ta kita dum dum ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dim ta ta dum dum ta ta dim ta kita dum ta kita dum ta kita dum. You can hear how the solo phrase kind of pokes out, pops out, and is very visible from the calm time flow of the rhythm. So again, establish the time before. If you're playing this, obviously with the play-alongs, there's one round of the actual supportive groove, and then into the composition. But if you're practicing this at home with a metronome, developing it at a slower tempo, then get really comfortable with that time cycle, because it's such a it's got such a great feel to it. Or at a slower tempo. And make sure you spend a good amount of time really focusing on the feel of it. It's got to feel. It's got to feel. Not like very stiff and boring and uninteresting. It's groovy, even slow. It's got a real feel and a lilt to it. So rarely in performance would this be played continuously in this way. It would be improvised on, as I mentioned with the other rhythms. Whatever comes into the mind of the performer. So next we'd have the korepu, where the phrase is brought in more regularly, as in the second line. So we just have tum ta ta dim ta kita tum ta ta kita tum ta dim ta kita tum tum ta ta dim ta kita tum di ta kita tum ta di ta kita tum. So that's twice, and then we're getting round or four times actually, depending on the tempo of the time cycle being clapped. Again, this is in 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I talk about the clapping cycle in previous lessons. So then we're moving on to the ending. So this is similar to the last play along in that the ending has gaps of 5 in it. but we're going to extend the ending. So after the portion where there's the gaps of 5, we then have some other repeats of the phrase and another gap and then the ending. So it'll kind of make sense when you hear it. So to begin with, we have our phrase da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 5 gap. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 5 da kida dum dit da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 5. Sometimes it's good to abstract little sections of compositions out so you can get more comfortable with them, so you can kind of learn how the gaps work, so you're not sort of necessarily forced into having to do the whole composition every time. You can do small little components. So in this instance, we'll be doing that. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 5 da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 5. Or a bit slower. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta 2 3 4 5 da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta 2 3 4 5. So then when we kind of get used to that, then you can start to work towards the whole composition. So we have that 3 times. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah da kida dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta. So up to that point we've had phrase, gap, phrase, gap, phrase. Okay, so from that point on we have the last tati da kida dum repeats with a gap of 4, and then that comes back round to the downbeat. So if you hear the whole thing, it will make sense. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit kida dum 1 2 3 4 da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 4 da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 1 2 3 da dit da kida dum ta 2 3 4 da dit da kida dum ta. So that's the structure of it. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 5. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 5. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum 4. Da dit da kida dum 4. Da dit da kida dum downbeat. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta 2 3 4 5. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da 1 2 3 4 5 da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah da dit da kida dum ta ah da dit da kida dum ta. So again, now we're coming back. Remember we had in the last lesson counting gaps. Ta 2 3 4 5 ta ah ga 4 ta ah. Now you might think that counting 4, who can't count 4? You don't need to have a special counting syllable to count 4. But in actual fact, when these go off the beat, it's really important to have a set of phonetics to count any sort of gap. So 8. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah. Da kida dum dit kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah. Da kida dum dit da kida dum da dit da kida dum ta ah. Da dit da kida dum ta ah. Da dit da kida dum ta. So that's the composition. It's important to play it and clap the talam and recite the syllables. Remember the talam: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And you'll often see people on stage clapping in, elaborate ways, particularly if they're quite ego-based performers. Anyway, it does happen. It really does happen. And the best thing is sometimes if you look at the audience, once you know the music, you can kind of see through a lot of the stuff. And if sometimes you watch the audience and the audience is there clapping the time cycle, and you know, sitting in the front row sometimes completely wrong, nowhere near what it is actually, just pretentiously, you know, look, I know what's happening with the music. It's like I remember going to a classical concert once, and there was a woman next to me, orchestral concert, Western orchestra. And there's a woman next to me reading the score, and I remember this so well, not only because she was reading the score, she probably looked 20 bottles of perfume on, I think. It was just like unbearable, the whole thing. And anyway, and I didn't like the music either. There's another you know, twist to the tale. Anyway, she's reading it through pretentiously, like, classical music, this is delightful, darling. And and it finished, and there was still about 4 pages to go in her notation. So it's you know, one of those things. So don't be pretentious, because you get caught out. So the whole composition, 3, 4, and dark it a dum dit dark it a dum dat dit dark it a dum ah dark it a dum dit dark it a dum dat dit dark it a dum dark it a dum dit dark it a dum dat dit dark it a dum dat dit dark it a dum dat dit dark it a dum da. And that's what I played at the beginning. So go back to the beginning, check that out, and then go on to the end. And the notation's there, once with me playing the Kanjira, once with me just doing the konnakol. So I'll see you soon for the next play along. 4 and tum tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tum tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tum tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tum tat tat tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum tum tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat ding tat tat tum tat tat ding tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum tum tat tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum tum tat tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum ta tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum ta tak it dum tit tak it dum tat tit tak it dum ta tat tit tak it dum ta tat tit tak it dum ta.